Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Lena's Adventure Small Shop. I am so happy to be here. We have a great show tonight. This is my first show, and I am so excited to have you all join today. Thank you. We have a special guest. We have a great guest today. Theresa Gibson will be here talking with us. We're going to be talking about aging out of foster care. Hello, Theresa. How are you?
Hi.
How
Hi,
are
Regina.
you?
Congratulations on your first show.
Thank you. And thank you for being here. I'm so excited to share with everyone. We're going to be talking, like I said, about aging out of foster care. First, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Regina Alston. I am the founder and the CEO of Lena's Adventures. I am so excited to be launching this new small talk that we'll be having every Tuesday. I want to I want to just acknowledge and thank Theresa for being here and just share a little bit about what we do. Lena's Adventures is a nonprofit organization that I started. We advocate for children in foster care. We donate cakes to children in foster care. We have annual pajama drives. I write children's book for children in foster care. I have 4 books that are out. I'm so excited about the new one. Gino the Giraffe which will be out soon. We also connect with several agencies in Richmond area and in the state of Ohio, where I'm from. So I'm so grateful to connect with these agencies, and we advocate and we just give back to children in foster care. So I'm so excited for everyone being here, tuning in. There's going to be some great shows that we're going to be doing, great conversations. So please share, like, tell everybody about it. It's going to be a great show. And today I'm just so excited to have Theresa. Theresa is a business owner. She's also a real estate agent up in DC. She has written a book, Thorn of Roses, and she is a foster care advocate herself. She does so much for her community. She's a mentor. The list goes on and on. It's so much I can say about Theresa, but I'm going to let Theresa tell you a little bit about herself. So, Theresa, welcome.
Thank you. I'm hoping the connection is okay. I've been having issues
Okay.
with my internet. Of course, I would do that today. So hopefully the connection is fine. But as you said, my name is Theresa Gibson. I'm the author of Thorns of a Rose, which is a book about me growing up in foster care. As you mentioned, I am a real estate agent in the state of Maryland, as well as Washington, D.C. for Caldwell Banker Realty. Also, like she mentioned, I've done a lot of community work. I'm a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, which I do a lot of volunteer work as well. I'm a member of Little David Baptist Church. I like doing things for the community, doing things for others. I wrote my book. My book was published in 2018, Thorns of a Rose. And it's a book about, like I said, me growing up in foster care.
So
And
today,
yes,
oh, go ahead.
yeah.
So today, I want us to share about our topic, aging out of foster care. And I know that you aged out of foster care. So can you tell our viewers what aging out of foster care means?
Yes. So aging out of foster care is pretty much when a child grows up in foster care, whether they come in at the age of 1, 2, 5, 15, whatever age they come into foster care, once they turn the age of 18, they are considered aged out by the state or by the jurisdiction in which they live. It's at a time when the state no longer feels that they have to really protect that child or be a part of that child's livelihood anymore. When they're under 18, they're still underage, so the state still has care under them. But when they turn 18, they're pretty much on their own. Even though a lot of states do move it up to 21, mostly it's 18 years old. In some states, the children can pretty much have an option whether or not they want to stay in until they're 21. But aging out just pretty much means that they are no longer actually under the jurisdiction of that no longer under the care of that jurisdiction. It is a trying time because all of our kids always say the same thing when they're growing up. I can't wait till I get 18. I can't wait till I get 18. We hear that. But in reality, even though they can't wait till they get 18, but when they're 18, they're pretty much on their own. Because if they didn't have the parental support, their real parent support, then they're not going to pretty much have that parental support once they turn 18 years old. And with that comes a lot of issues. So in doing my research, I found out that right now there are 23,000 kids that are aging out of foster care every year. Can you imagine that?
Yeah. Wow.
Isn't that something? And out of that 23,000, they say 20% of those become homeless.
Wow.
Okay, so you say 20%. Oh, that don't sound like a lot, but think about it. That's 5,000 children every year. That's around 5,000 children every year that become homeless in the United States. That's a lot of 18-year-olds, a lot of 21-year-olds.
Wow.
They also say that 71% of those that are young women will become pregnant by the time they're 21. And some of them will be caught up in sex trafficking. That's the reality of it. And they say that most of those involved in sex trafficking are from foster care. So those are some very serious issues that goes along with it. And that's because a lot of times they're not, if you imagine our children, so I know I have 2 children. I remember when they were 18, they weren't trying to go nowhere. They still was trying to, they still was, even now that they're older than 18, they're calling my phone. So, I mean, can you imagine being 18 and have no one to call?
No one to call or nowhere to go.
Right.
Or nowhere to go. So this topic is so important. And, if you're on here and you have any questions or, just put it in the comments. But this is a serious matter that, that I feel is overlooked. I think there could be more things can be done, like more programs. There are programs out there, as you know. I know there's programs, but I don't think there's a lot of children who knows about these programs. And to me, it's up to the social workers to really get involved with the children and share with them about the programs. I know me and you have discussed maybe in the future buying a home for young women phasing out of foster care. And that's one of our visions that me and Theresa have been talking about. We hope to have one in DC and hope to have one in Richmond. So we're praying that, one day that we can start that,
Yes.
So
that would be great. That would be something that's very much needed to purchase a building where we can turn that into a home for foster care children who age out, so they can just have that little bit more time to, that they need, to earn life skills and, to get that education so that they can, be a part of, the greater society.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And they can become real estate agents. They can become authors, and things that we did, So I'm so excited about, the vision that we have and the heart that we have for children in foster care. So also I wanted to talk about, as you said, you wrote your book. Can you kind of share with us a little bit about growing up and some of the things you had to overcome and that you put in the book?
Sure. So I entered foster care at the age of 4, and pretty much the book talks about as far, that I can remember at that age and growing up. So some of the issues, so then you have like a 2-part. So you have the part where I'm growing up in foster care from 4 to 18. And then you have the part where I'm aging out, when I age out and the things that I went through as an aging out. So things I went through growing up in foster care was just the fact of going to school and seeing all your friends who have mothers and fathers, and knowing that you don't, knowing that you're not growing up with a mother and father, them not understanding what that means, and just pretty much living this facade. I never told anyone that I was in foster care, but nothing was ever discussed. Some of the issues of not knowing who I am, where I came from, who are my parents, and how do I connect, that connection, not having that connection. I never connected to my foster parents. I never connected to them. I was very clear they were my foster parents, and they were very clear that I was their foster child. So I never had that connection with a family growing up at all, from the age of 4 to 18 years old. So that was hard. That was hard, knowing that I wasn't really belonging to anyone. I was just existing. That's kind of like what it was like. All the struggles I went through, and some of the things I went through mentally and socially. Identity, not knowing, not really having that identity, not connecting, not having that connection with anything or anybody. And then the book goes on to talk about those issues. And then it talks about, as I aged out, I get into some of the things that I went through, some of the statistical data that we talked about, which is homelessness. I dealt with the homelessness. I dealt with the abuse. I dealt with the low self-esteem. I dealt with those things, and talked about my journey in dealing with those and how I overcame those.
Absolutely wonderful. The book is, you guys, you have to get this book. I'm going to put the information up on the end. Her book is amazing, amazing testimony, amazing story. And just to see how she turned out. And what's the name of your sorority? Tell them the name of your sorority and how you do so much in there.
Yes, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. That's the name of my sorority I'm belong to. It's a national Divine Nine organization, and we do a lot of community work, and which is probably why, and I believe that's why I connected with them, was because I was all about the sisterhood, because I never really had a lot of that camaraderie growing up. So I kind of attached myself to a sorority, and so we do a lot of community service, nationally known. So it's an awesome organization, and I'm very proud to be a member.
Yes, and Theresa, I can share how we connected. When I first came out with my first book, Lena's Adoption Day, we were both connected with an agency here in Richmond, and we did our book signing together. And it turned out great, because my book was for little children, young age. I write my children's book for young people, and hers was for being adopted and phasing out. And when the lady asked me, "Hey, would you mind sharing your book signing with someone else?" And when she told me your story, right away I was like, that connects. And we've been connected ever since. So that's awesome. And we have did some projects together, different places, and it just shows you how God can connect you with people, and in your life, and we're all on the same page. We both know what it, we both have a heart for children in foster care. We both are on the same journey, in the sense of giving back, and that's what is important. And we really need supporters. A lot of people don't know how important it is to have support. A lot of people start agencies and businesses, but you really need people to support you. And that's my prayer, that God would support Theresa's vision. God would support Lena's visions, because we need each other to make everything okay. You cannot do it alone. So you have to find good people that you can connect with, and work together. And that's my vision, that we can continue to work together to help children in foster care. And I mainly did girls because I'm a girl. But we can help boys too, but we both are girls. So, my vision and my heart goes out to young women. So, So, Theresa, that is great about the book. And you talked about like phasing out. So what things I think we're having difficulties with Theresa's internet, so we pray that she'll come back on. But the things that I also wanted to talk about in aging out is it's so important when you see people wanting things for children in foster care or teenagers, that you can lend a helping hand and help and support. So that's so important when people have these agencies out here. It's so important. We got you back, Theresa. It's so important to support and when and just know what you're supporting. And there's
Right.
so many foster kids out here aging out, and it is just so important, for us to recognize. And this is what this talk show is about. That we can just talk
Yes.
a little bit about what we can do. So, Theresa, what are some of the things that you think as a community we could come together and do more of?
As it relates to foster care, I would say support more organizations. A lot of organizations out there that do provide foster care, treatment, foster care, foster parents, and they have foster children. I would say probably to also funding, fund these programs, help with these programs, just like the vision that you and I have. We have a vision we don't know where the money's going to come from, but we believe God and that we're going to make this happen, this vision happen, that we're going to purchase a building and we're going to help aging out of foster care young people. And that's something that we want to do. So if you know of anything like that, support it. Support us and our vision. Support organizations and their vision. Support Lena. Follow Lena on her page. Congratulations on your book. Awesome. I really like the fact that you wrote a children's book. So it gives a child an opportunity to see, because in your book, you talk about being adopted. And a lot of times children don't understand what that means. So it's really great that you wrote a book where children who are just, who are not adopted, who, live in there with their parents can understand what that means. So when they meet someone, they understand that that person is just as special as they are. So that's great. Kudos to you for writing a book that, that deals with a topic that a lot of times is not talked about, adoption. Just like we said earlier, foster care as well. It's a topic that sometimes is not talked about and is looked at a certain way. And a lot of foster care children, they need that support. If you know of a foster care child aging out, see what kind of support you can give them. They're going to college. They don't have that parent that's going to buy them all these wonderful things for their dorms. Like I know we spent for my granddaughter lots of money, and there were lots of donations as well. And we spent a lot of money getting her ready for college.
Right.
So, support a foster child, support an organization. Those are some of the things you do. I would, I just think it's very important, to do that.
And you're right. Something you said that stuck to me. I went to a school to read my book. So and it was funny, maybe it's second graders. So one of the questions I asked the children is, because the name of the book was Lena's Adoption Day. So one of the questions I asked the children was, how many know what adoption means? And so, some people raised their hand, and I just wanted to hear the answer. And one of the little girls said, it's when your parents don't want you anymore. And I was like, oh, that's not, and I was like, no, so we don't want children to feel like they're not wanted, so I had to, dress it up. I said, well, no, it's when maybe your parent can't take care of you and they love you so much to entrust someone else to care for you, but the concept of that child thinking that adoption meant that you weren't wanted. And that's what the answer was. She was like, that's when your parents don't want you anymore and they give you away. So I want to try to I don't want children in foster care to think that they're not wanted and that they're not loved. They are loved. And that's why it's important, even for foster parents. If you're going to be a foster parent, you have to love these children. You have to love them. You can't do it for other reasons. You have to do it because you have a heart for children, and because these children are coming from some difficult situations, and what they need from someone is love.
Right.
And I hear a lot of horror stories about children in foster care.
Definitely so. Definitely. And that was a good point you made, because to teach the young people that what adoption is and what foster care is necessarily means that they don't want you. It just means sometimes parents are unable to be, to provide sufficiently. And sometimes they feel like it's best if someone else do it because they're unable to do it. And, right today, there's a lot of, right now, the system is pretty much set up to try to do a lot of reuniting. So that's kind of set up now where parents they're working with the parents rather than just put the child in foster care and that's it. They're working with the parents to reunite them in the future. So what are some of the needs of the parents? So the parent might need, they might have some issues. They might need to go to, some type of counseling, therapy. They may need to learn how to manage their money. They may need to learn how to do things so that they can be the best of who they really are. And so they can get their child back. So that's important as well, that the foster care system now does that. So back then, it wasn't really into that at all. You'll see in my book I talk a little bit about that. So, back in the day when I was growing up in foster care, reuniting was not one of the things that was on the top of the list. Thankfully, as I mentioned earlier, it's righting the wrong that foster care did to young people back when I was going up in foster care. So now there are things in place to right those wrongs. So just want to encourage foster children to take advantage of those. And foster parents, I had the opportunity to work for an organization, Progressive Life Center, that I recruited foster parents. I was glad I was able to do that because, one thing about my book kind of like has a perspective of foster parents. I was able to work, to recruit foster parents. And one thing I do know about, in recruiting is that you don't really know you find out who you really are when you have a foster child in your home. So one of the things that I did recently after I published my book was I went back to the organization I used to work, and all of the foster parents in the organization read my book.
Wow.
So they read my book. And then the next thing we came back and we had a session about the book. And I had some questions for them, and they was able to see how their behaviors, their personalities, their biases, all those type of things, how that can affect a child, not just a child, but as an adult, when that child becomes an adult. And so it was an eye-opening experience for them. It was like, wow, I was able to see how, you have that child in your home. So don't think what you do today can impact them when they turn 30, when they're 40. I'm still dealing with things, that you can deal with, that you dealt with, that I've dealt with as a foster child. So, that was really great. I mean, I really like that. I think working with foster parents is something that's really, and that was a great experience.
Well, that's great. I've got a couple of foster parents that's going to be coming on the show. Ronisha Champion wants to know how can she get the book. So Ronisha, I hope I'm saying your name right. I put the book up, and this is at the bottom of the screen is where her Cash App is. Can you, Theresa, let everyone know how much your books are?
Sure. My book is $20. The name of the book is Thorns of a Rose. My Cash App is $SINGLERHOSE. That's single rose, spelled with an H. And so my book, Thorns of a Rose, I'm going to talk about the title. So some people ask me sometimes, where did you get that title? How'd you come up with that? So when I first started writing my book, I had a writing coach, and she said, well, Theresa, what's going to be the name of your book? I said, I have no idea. She said, okay, well, just start writing and something to come to you. It's like, okay. So I think it was about third chapter I was writing, and it just popped in my head. It was like, Thorns of a Rose, because Theresa, a rose is your favorite flower. And it's also the flower of the yellow tea rose is the flower from my sorority. So of course I love the yellow tea rose. And I said, well, I'm a rose, and a rose has thorns, and I've had a lot of thorns. Actually, I'm writing about my thorns. So I thought of Thorns of a Rose as a great title.
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome. And when God gives us something, you gotta, you write it down. Sometimes He gives us things in the middle of the night. You have to get up and write it down. So that's a blessing. How when I heard when I seen your book and seen the name of it, I was like, what an awesome name. And then I seen the yellow rose, and then, like you said, we all had thorns. So that was a great title. And like I said, everyone, the book is great. I have the book. It's a great book. It tells her life story. At the bottom of the screen is her Cash App, and you can get that book. But I just want to say this has been a great, great topic, a great opportunity to share with everyone and come together and talk about aging out. And I'm going to continue next week with aging out because Lena's adventure is going to be blessing a child, or I can may say a young adult who is aging out of foster care in November, because November, everyone knows this. If you don't know, it's National Adoption Month. And so we're going to be blessing someone, a young lady. And so we'll be talking about that next week. I have a question. It says, Claudia Thorpe said it's an excellent book. So Claudia said it's an excellent book.
Thank you. Thank you, Claudia.
And Linda.
That's my soror.
Oh, right. Linda Richardson said she read the book and couldn't put it down.
Oh, thank you, Linda. That's my sis.
Yeah. So, hey, these people are not telling the story. I read the book. My mother-in-law, it was funny. My mother-in-law was like, can I have her number? Because she wanted to ask you questions. And my mother-in-law called you. I called you first. And I said, hey, my mother-in-law wants to talk to you about your book and ask you some questions. Theresa happily gave me permission to give my mother-in-law her number. And then my mother-in-law call you and ask you about the book.
I mean, it has been an amazing journey since I published my book, because I know we kind of run out a long time, but I just wanted to say that, when I first started writing, I was like, well, anybody going to really care? Is this story going to be boring? They're going to be like, whatever. And I just, all these things was going through my head as I was writing. I'm like, but then once I published the book and I got so much positive feedback, it was so amazing of the support that I received from people that I know and didn't know. I've gotten texts, I got emails, I had people posted on Amazon, messages about my book. And I've talked to people who said that they grew up in foster care or they were adopted. I met you. Meeting you was one of the greatest things that happened to me. In writing my book. Had I not wrote it and published it, I never would have known you. Yeah. So that was awesome. And so I've met some wonderful people. I want to shout out One Church, One Child, was called Virginia, One Church, One Child. I want to shout them out because they have been very instrumental in both of our lives, as far as, we helping them, helping us, and we helping them as well to, get some of the older children adopted and older children put in homes.
Yes. I have a question. Otoya Harrell, my sis. She said, as a foster care social worker, thank all social women. She said, thank you all ladies. This information is needed in the community. Thank you. She said, thank you ladies for what you are doing. I'm sorry. And she said, this is needed. Hanson Lewis says, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like I said, this journey has been great. And, so I want to just encourage too, women who believe it's too late because your age. Don't look at your age. When God gives you something, it's His timing. And I hear people say, "Well, I wish I would have done that when I was younger." You don't have to. You don't have to
do it now.
Do it now, because what God gives you now, you don't know what He can do with this. I never thought when I wrote this book that I would become a nonprofit organization. Let me tell you, the first year that I had Lena's Adventures, it went so fast. We were doing so much in such little time. And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, oh, wow, it really slowed me down. But that's when God kept giving me more to do, with writing more books.
Yes, totally. And just want everybody to know that you are all a rose. And whenever there are thorns, there is there is a beautiful rose attached. I thank God for all the thorns in my life, for they have developed me into a beautiful rose. That's the last page of my book.
I'm so sorry. You know what? The devil is a liar. We got disconnected in the middle of us talking, but I just want to thank everyone for just showing up and just with all the great comments. We've been having some difficulties with Teresa's internet, and then my internet want to act up, but it's because God knows what we're doing. But it's 8:30, and I just want to thank everyone, and I just want to put her information up there for you to purchase her book. Go check her out. And this has been a great show. And next week we'll be continually talking about phasing out, and we're going to have another special guest on next week, and we're going to talk about the young lady that we're going to be blessing in November for National Adoption Month. So we want to bless someone next month. We're trying to bless a young lady who is phasing out of foster care. So our goal is to bless her with $500. So if you want to donate, you can go to my website, which is lenasadventures.org, or you can cash at me, which is Lena's Adventures, and donate, or get in touch with me through text or inbox me, and I can tell you how you can donate to help bless this young lady. So we're going to bless someone, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to be talking about it next week. So thank you, everyone, for joining. I am so sorry for the difficulties, but this has been a great show. We want to thank Theresa. Her internet went out on her. So you know how that is. When you're doing something great, devil tries to mess it up, but we're still great, and we just want to thank everyone for joining us live, and you guys have a blessed day. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute, Teresa's back on.